Hey, hello. Everyone knows right now in the world about the Wuhan virus and the coronavirus, but I thought it might be interesting for you guys to hear about it from someone who lives. Oh, I don't know why I'm out of breath. That's kind of weird. Um, from someone who lives in Wuhan. So I'm an American expat living and working in Wuhan as a teacher, and I was on a vacation for Chinese New Year and got back into Wuhan just before the travel ban. So it's really crazy the way things all have played out. So if you don't know, the coronavirus started in a Hunan seafood and animal market here in Wuhan, and it jumped from an animal to a human, and that's how the virus started. That's why the virus has never been seen before in humans, because it has previously been a strain only seen in animals. So that's why it's new and it's scary and there's no cure, or not one found yet. But to be fair and to not go all doomsday, the coronavirus only has a 2% mortality rate compared to the SARS outbreak, which is what it's being compared to commonly. Back in the early 2000s had 15-16% mortality rate, and it was way more lethal. It was really scary. A lot more people died from that, and that's not to take away from the people who are suffering and dying from this, but just to limit the fear of it actually affecting me or other people here in Wuhan or throughout China. It is only a 2% mortality rate, and most of those deaths were in elderly patients who already had poor and failing health. But that definitely doesn't limit how scary this has been. So it's been going on for a while, and I feel like that's why I wasn't freaking out at first, because I was people in Wuhan have known about it. It was going on for 2 or 3 weeks. And then what I think escalated the whole world caring about it and jumping on it was the Chinese New Year. Because Chinese New Year is this week, or is currently going on. And there was a projected 7 million people traveling in and out of Wuhan alone, and hundreds of millions traveling in and around and throughout and out of China as a whole over this past week and this next coming week. These 2 weeks are a huge travel time for everyone in this country and the surrounding countries. Chinese New Year, everyone goes home, and then their families often go on vacation, travel around, and if you're not a Chinese national, you have this break that you can go to other countries for. So that's what I had done. I went to go visit a friend in South Korea, and just going about my life, still getting updates on the virus and hearing about it and everything, but everything was fine. I was fine, everyone from my school was fine, we weren't too overly concerned about it. But then I flew back from South Korea to Wuhan Wednesday night. So I got in Wednesday night, and then was hearing more about the virus escalating and more people getting infected, and it was concerning. Called my mom, let her know I was safe, went to bed. And then Thursday morning is when it started to get real. So Thursday morning I wake up and my phone is just blowing up with group chats from school, group chats from the US, group chats from my staff and my fellow peers and admin, and people who are abroad within our school and people who are still in the city. It just went wild, because that's when they placed the travel ban. So I got into Wuhan Wednesday night, and then Thursday morning at 10 a.m. the travel ban was put into place. No flights coming in or out of the city. All public transportation was shut down. No buses, subways, airplanes, anything like that. So that's when it started to get concerning. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is real. They're really escalating. They're taking this up a notch. You're effectively cut off from the rest of the world with no public transportation, no flights in or out of the city. And in a city of 11 million people, not very many people actually own their own cars. We rely on public transportation, walking, biking, and flights to get anywhere. We're in central China, so to get anywhere far, you need a train, you need a plane. You can't just a train, a plane, you can't just like walk around. So just by eliminating public transport and flights, a lot of people, most of the population of 11 million people were effectively stranded here. So that was already concerning. But then, so that was Thursday morning. Today is Saturday. So as of yesterday, so Thursday morning, they put in the travel ban. And then Friday, they restricted all private cars and vehicles on the roadway as well. So on top of there being a public transport ban, there was now no private cars allowed on the road. So if you were one of the few people in Wuhan to own your own car, you're now no longer allowed to have it out on the roads. And they also cut off all ride-sharing apps, like our equivalent to Uber we have here is called Didi. So we didn't have our Didi, we couldn't call cars. Taxis were restricted from being out in public unless they were sequestered for transportation for hospitalized patients. So no taxis, no Uber equivalents, no public transport, no airplanes. Now we're really stuck, and the quarantine got really serious after that, I feel. And so I don't have the virus. I'm not really in contact with anybody. I'm like holed up in my apartment. I'm not talking to anybody. So I felt like I was pretty safe on the virus front, but food and water, like if we're going to be quarantined for this long, I didn't really have any food here. The cost of living in China is pretty cheap, and honestly, I eat out most days and go get lunch at a restaurant or go down Walking Street for some street food, and for dinner, like I don't really have a lot of food in the apartment. So I did a grocery order Thursday morning, and I got some groceries for like the next week, thinking like, okay, that's fine. Like I have some frozen jiaozi, some chips, like I don't really know how to doomsday plan, so like I was like, yeah, that's fine. I got some frozen jiaozi and some chips, like I'll be fine for a week. And now the frustrating part now is that there's not a clear answer from anybody. We're being told all sorts of different things, and then we're being told that everything we were told was conflicting with a different report, or there's new events. So like no one really knows what's happening or how long it's going to last. But we've been told that this quarantine may last anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. So if this is only gonna last for 2 weeks, like bet. I got some jiaozi, I got some Pringles, I just went out and bought some ramen, like I'm set for 2 weeks. But if this is gonna last for 2 months, I don't have food and water for that long, and all the stores are closing down. There's nobody out there, like the roads are dead, there's no transport, there's no one's coming to go open their little store when they're worried about catching a virus. So there's like barely any stores open. There's no people out. There's no transportation. What am I supposed to do for food and water? Like I have food for a while, but we can't drink the water here from the tap. You have to have water containers or bottled water. And so my roommate and I always get like these coolers for like an office water dispenser type thing. So we have one of those, but I'm running out of, like, I'm gonna run out of water after a week or two. I don't have those kind of provisions. So the quarantine is what has me more worried, not really the virus, but the quarantine now is what has me worried, being cut off from the world, and like the whole city kind of shutting down, everyone hiding in their houses. The lack of food and water and resources like that is kind of concerning, but it'll probably be fine. I had to walk for a while before I found a store that was open today, but I eventually did, and bought some ramen because I don't know, like it's a dry good. I don't know what else to buy for the plague. What else do you get besides ramen? So I bought a bunch of ramen. And I'm gonna call that good. But and then the other frustrating bit is hearing people talk about American evacuations, Because from what I've been able to gather, I've been emailing the U.S. consulate and talking to the U.S. consulate reps within my international school and trying to get information from anyone I can, anyone who knows. And from all of that, we keep hearing conflicting reports because America in American media is making itself sound like this huge hero, that they're going to come rescue all the Americans, that they're coming for their people and they're evacuating us out. But like, realistically, what's happened is there was a charter plane sent for the employees of the American consulate. So the employees of the American consulate, those American citizens were evacuated out and brought back to the U.S. or wherever they were brought out of Wuhan. Don't fact check me. But the rest of the American citizens, there's over 1,000 American citizens within the city of Wuhan. So the rest of us are just here. And the U.S. consulate did give some really vague information about being able and willing to assist Americans' departure. Whatever that means. That could mean anything from like, we'll supply the plane if you supply $3,000 for an emergency exit ticket, or like maybe they'll bring us back to the US, or maybe they'll just drop us off in another Chinese city that's not infected, or we go to the next nearest Air Force base like in Japan or somewhere in Europe, or it's just like a Handmaid's Tale type situation where we're all sleeping on the like some high school gym's floor and waiting out the illness, which being in close quarters like that with a ton of people, I'd be way more worried about catching something, whether it's the virus or the flu or whatever, than just like staying in my apartment. So at this point, I think staying in my apartment is the safest bet I have, because all the information I have about American flights out is so sketchy, unverified, conflicting, and I haven't been able to get a solid answer from anyone about anything. So currently, I'm just waiting out the plague in Wuhan, watching a lot of Netflix and calling back home, calling parents and family and letting everyone know I'm okay and I'm fine and I'm alive. But it's definitely a really surreal, weird situation. It feels like it's straight out of an action movie script, but like not even a good action movie. It's like a B-roll action movie with like a knockoff Tom Cruise where they're like, oh no, the plague's coming for the world. But don't worry, we're doing our best. We're going to come for our citizens, and we're building all these hospitals because we care about people and we're going to fix them up. And the mortality rate's not actually that bad, so don't be too worried. But oh God, the media, like, we're gonna die. And then like, oh, it's fine. Quarantine, we're gonna restrict international travel. Not too bad. So like, it's like a bad movie script, but it is really surreal. It's so weird to live through. It's absolutely crazy to like be experiencing it like right here, right now. Like I'm right now quarantined in a city of 11 million people because of a strange new coronavirus outbreak that no one knows the cure to. So that is a wild concept. And like, as if being a first-year teacher wasn't hard enough, try being in the midst of a plague, ground zero, right? So they never told me about that and all the first-year teacher struggles. But honestly, I think everything is going to be okay. Obviously, the situation right now is scary. Like, I know I'm like being light and I'm making a lot of jokes, but it is a really scary situation. There are a lot of people who are sick. There are thousands and thousands of cases in Wuhan alone, much less the rest of China and the world. There are thousands of cases of this coronavirus, and a lot of people are sick, and there have been at least 17 confirmed deaths, if not more. So in that lane of thought, like, if you are a spiritual person, like, go ahead and pray for Wuhan if you feel like it. If not, find a cure or like donate to hospital building if that's a thing. I don't know. I'm not putting anything in the links, but it's just keep us in your thoughts and prayers, I guess. It's definitely wild. Check in on your family members and your friends. If you know anyone living in China, check in on them, text them, call them, make sure they're safe. Yeah, wild stories.